we'll sort of start things from there. But thank you all so much. This is going to be, I'm really looking forward to this. Right, good evening. Thank you very much for watching this tonight. We've got a fantastic conversation that we're going to have between one of the UK's most experienced CE5 practitioners and a brand new team that's formed in the past couple of months. CE5 Shropshire have been going under the stewardship of Michelle Richardson and Adam Mansell. And Wendy Boast has very kindly agreed to, I don't want to say you're mentoring the UK community yet. Maybe that's a bit early to say that, but
I'm
that's
just
certainly the dream.
happy to talk.
And she's basically, we're just going to have a very open conversation. Michelle and Adam are going to tell us their stories and what brought them to this. And Wendy's going to we're going to listen, I am as well, and then just draw an experience of how some of these things are similar and the synchronicities behind them. So, so to start off with, yeah, I mean, Michelle and Adam, if you want to introduce yourselves separately, tell us a bit about yourself, and then tell us your story and what led you here.
Adam,
Lady
do you
first.
want to go first? No. Do you want me to go first?
Yes, please.
Your story is more interesting than mine, so we can keep them hanging on a bit longer. So, yeah, I mean, my story isn't anything special. Just since I was very, very young, you can't remember any time that I have not had a not just a belief, but a knowledge of spirituality and the existence of the paranormal realms and the existence of extraterrestrials, non-human intelligences. So it's just something that has always been with me. Um, I've been doing the spiritual work for quite a few years now, going to spiritualist churches, sitting in circles, doing the paranormal investigations. But it's only the last 5 years really that I've got into the more extraterrestrials, that kind of thing. And it's really since the group formed, actually, that it's not just Adam and myself. There's actually a base group of 5 of us that started it. So just want to sort of put that out there because, kudos to Chris, Alex, and Frank as well. Um, so yeah, really since January, wasn't it? We had our first meeting where we all got together over a coffee um, and then Amanda, bless her, introduced us to you, James, and the UK group. So, and it's just gone really nicely since then. It sort of seems to have flowed quite naturally, and everything seems to be quite. There's a lot of synchronicity, just when you think you need to do something or you think about something, it all falls into place. So I'm really, really chuffed to be here and with you guys and looking forward to moving on and moving forwards.
Lovely, Michelle. um, so yeah, my name's Adam. Um, Growing up, I loved Strange But True. Never scared of anything. Of such a young person to watch programs like that, the paranormal and UFOs. It's always fascinated me. Um, Religion was quite a heavy part growing up. Um, Turning into a young adult, unfortunately, my mom came terminally ill with cancer, and I had a heart to heart with my mom, and I said I no longer believe in afterlife, and when the time comes, can you try and show me that there is something? Because at the moment, I've lost all faith. And when she passed away, it was hours later. Um, there were signs everywhere, and there's still to this day now. I know she's around. It was her anniversary in March, and I said in meditation that I was missing. I'm getting choked up. missing her contact. I know that she's around, but just feeling her presence. And on her anniversary, the hook on the back of my jacket lifted up twice, and I'd felt the presence behind me prior, and I thought it was just someone standing behind me. And when I felt the tug, I looked round and there was nobody there, and I knew it was my mum. She's came in my dreams and visited me, um, and it's just opened up everything. I've questioned everything, and I've gone back to ancient history because I thought to go forwards, you need to go back. Um, I've learned so much on what we've not been told, really. I've just gone down a rabbit hole massively. And then looking at myself, I've worked on myself. And then I think it was about 18 months ago, I said, okay, I am very open to everything. I believe in UFOs, but I've never actually seen a UFO. So if you're out there, just, swing by. And a couple of days later, I was in my back garden, a big, massive orange orb, really, really bright orange on the outside, turns transparent in the middle, just tootled over the house to say, here I am. And I was like, wow. And it was huge, and it was about 20 foot just above the house. And I was like, okay. And then went to walk the dog a few nights later, and two supersonic things just flew straight over with no noise. And I was like, okay. And then last month I've had three encounters, and you start thinking, hang on, is this just me? Is this in my head? And we was having a family barbecue, and my wife went, oh my God, did you see that? And our friend said, did you see that? And it was a blue sphere, and it went on, off, but it was coming down, and it went just into the back of the woods at the back of the house. And I feel with the journey that I'm on, these encounters are sort of telling me that I'm on the right path, and it's encouragement to keep going. And yeah, I've only known about CE5 since January, I think. Didn't even know. Set up the app, and within a week, I'm meeting the guys at Costa Coffee and formed a really strong group. And yeah, it's just lovely, absolutely lovely, and it's growing. And we're just ready to try and get some experience out on the field. I want to share it with like-minded people and not just receive it by myself. I think that's about it at the moment.
That's brilliant. I'm really delighted for you. Delighted.
Thank
When
you.
you, how do you, does any of that strike a chord with your personal experiences as well?
Yeah, absolutely. If I just give you a potted history, really, I'm ancient. So I started watching the stars from a small child. I lived in North Warwickshire, no light pollution, and the space race was on at the time. So everyone was talking about space, and I learned astronomy. I started reading astronomy textbooks at about 8 or 9 years old. And of course, in the summer particularly, I would just spend hours outside watching the sky and all manner. I mean, it was a very busy time for UFOs, the late 1960s and early 70s particularly. They were everywhere. And the press used to talk about it, yeah. It was acceptable to talk about them. And you would see stuff in the sky flying around that you knew weren't us, things that flew in right angles and things that skipped across the sky like a pebble across a wave. Other things like long cylindrical, I remember two big cylindrical things that glowed that came over and were almost silent and just flying in tandem, straight over the top of the house. Um, so stuff like that meant that from very young, I've always believed. I've always known it's true. But of course, there was a particular time in the 1970s when suddenly it became impossible to talk about it, and you would be ridiculed, and the press would ridicule everyone. It didn't matter how, how, whether they were senior police officer or whatever they might be. Suddenly a switch turned and it became a secret that nobody could talk about. And so it stayed that way until recently, obviously. But for those of us in the know, I've always seen things if I've been out. And what I would say is, it's great, Adam, that your family are all really into it, kind of thing, as can see blue orbs and it doesn't freak them out. I've sometimes had such a lovely evening with friends and sat outside for a bit in the summer. I thought, wouldn't it be lovely, come and visit, kind of thing, and they do. And of course, then the friends kind of slightly freak out. So you've got to be a little bit careful. Um, but the big thing that really helped me in many ways was, like you, Adam, I went deep into the rabbit hole of ancient history. And in fact, I spend most of my recreational time traveling the world looking at megalithic sites and sacred sites around the world. And I learned a deep meditation technique called transcendental meditation. And that really, that was an absolutely power punch of understanding what your consciousness is and understanding that we are the consciousness. The body is not it. The body is just like the little Roswell robot. The body is just a vehicle, and that we are so much more than that. Um, but I had been following Dr. Greer for quite a long time, but America was so distant. All the stuff that he did was nearly all in America. Um, and so I was doing CE5s by myself anyway. But as it happened, I was working in New York in 2015, and so I messaged Dr. Greer and said, I'm a Brit in the US. Please, can I join? You know. Your retreat that you're doing in Arizona. Well, it was Colorado, actually, Four Corners, where the four states meet. And so that was my first real big CE5 with a whole group of very fascinating people, many healers, psychics, paranormal investigators, many physicists, quite a lot of pilots, and quite a lot of technology people like me. I've always been in IT director, that kind of thing, digital transformation. So we all got on like a house on fire, and the retreat was on a Native American on a mesa that had been a Native American medicine wheel, and we had phenomenal visitations. And I've been on others since, and I have to say, Dr. Greer really, I mean, they're all his mates, so they turn up, in numbers. So what that has done. I try to help Dr. Gray if he's ever traveling. He does travel more now, and he was in London last year. But at the end of the day, James and I have had a number of conversations about the fact that so many people don't get it, that it's about consciousness.
Yes.
They want to kick the tires on the UFO and shake hands with a little green man. And people who spend a lot of money going on CE5s with Dr. Greer are like that sometimes. And it's very infuriating because they you just don't get it, do you? Because all the communication is telepathic.
Yeah.
All of the flash bulbs and stuff, you've got to have the eyes to see. And so some people, just come away from a week like that having seen and experienced nothing, while the rest of us are going, wow. you know?
Yeah.
So it's all down to your consciousness and how you sense the world around you, the energy, the physics around you. So I'm absolutely with both of you in terms of the paranormal, I think, is another example of everything being in different dimensions. These are just
Yeah,
dimensional shifts, and they're all
frequency
around.
and vibration.
Yeah, they're all around us all the time, and you're just tuning your radio in
Yeah.
to whatever frequency they are. And that's why we see things.
Mm.
So I think it's brilliant that that you've started, because you've both got this wonderful view of consciousness. You understand that you're not a, you know, you're not just a physical body, which is the key issue here. Yeah.
I
So
think whenever I've been really stressed, I've always sort of spoken to the universe. I've had probably a difficult childhood with family, and whenever it's got too much, I've always looked to the sky and I've spoke up, and things have changed, and it's like I've been heard. And
Mm.
then when I was like, hang on, if I've done that speaking and things have changed, why don't I ask to see something? And that's where I changed. And I was like, oh wow. And then CE5, and I'd seen Dr. Greer, and he's like, yeah, you can communicate with them. And I thought, well, hang on, I've been doing that.
Mm. Yeah.
Um, and then just knowing that there's like-minded people is really, really good.
Mm.
can
Yeah,
I?
and you're not mad, that's the thing, because the average person thinks you're nuts. And I've got, groups that ask me to do talks for them when they get together at the end of a meeting. And it's kind of like, sometimes I think they always say I'll give them a lot to think about, but for most of them, I think it just goes over their heads really, and it's just something different instead of all the usual stuff they talk about. And it's very frustrating to be living in these with a foot in both worlds, really,
Yeah.
isn't it? The world we see is very different from the world most of our neighbours see, and it's quite challenging. Yeah.
Yeah, I found this week I've had quite traumatic news, which I would call in the matrix reality. And I find that whenever there's time to grow, the matrix finds a way to make things really, really complicated, to unsettle you, and to go, oh no, I can't do this. I can't do this. And then to stay back. And I've gone, no, it's been a real tough week, what I've had this week. I've had the week off from work because it's been really bad, but it ain't breaking me. We're here to be tested, and I'm here to move forward and to grow. And the message needs to get out there that, this can be achieved, but it needs to understand that, as you said, consciousness is all part of this.
Yes. Yeah.
You want the interaction with UFOs, then yeah, we've got to grow as
Yeah.
a
I
mass
think
collection.
I think as well, we do have to take account of the environment that we're living in. So the big environment, I mean, I always talk big picture. So we've been bombarded with solar storms this week, day
Mhm.
Yeah.
after day after day. And I have one of these alerts on my phones that tells me, that it tells me there's a solar storm coming in and there'll be aurora. So I've taken this week very quietly because I know what it does to me when we have these big storms coming in. So it affects this physical thing, but I think it's also affecting us in consciousness because there's just this massive wave of energy coming in. And of course, it's
Yeah.
coming in and going into the earth. And then the earth is going to push it back out again at us. So we're right in the middle of a big energy soup at the moment that's quite hard to
Yeah.
handle. Yeah.
Yeah, and
And,
it's
and
it's
hence,
having an effect as well on the cellular level, isn't it? On the
It is.
DNA.
Yeah.
It's changing our DNA, and it's throwing us a little bit off kilter because obviously our body's going to need time to adjust, and
Yeah.
so it's a case of just being aware, being kind to yourself, and not trying to force it. Just go with the flow.
Indeed. And
so
the science is there to show the impact on hearts. So it has a big impact on hearts. A lot more people rushing off to hospital thinking they're having a heart attack. And it also has an impact on people with bipolar in that it will put them into an extreme quite quickly. So, quite challenging, really, when we have to deal with that as well as all the rest of what's going on.
Yeah.
Sorry, James has gone offline. Have you, James? He was trying to say something, wasn't he?
It was, yeah.
Oh, dear me. Yeah, one of the interesting things, Adam, you said you just spoke and asked for help. You all right, James? Did you want to say something?
yeah, no, it's just I just wanted to. It was just a point that you made, Wendy, and it was two questions I had just wanted to pose to you for anyone that's watching and listening to the conversation. The first one is as you were talking about the solar storms, Wendy, and the energy comes into the Earth and then the Earth gives back out. We've had an eruption of Mount Etna.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
And what was the
Delaware.
other? There was an earthquake,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
earthquake in Greece.
yeah.
So all of a sudden, all of this earth activity is increasing, and so that's echoes what you were saying. But
Mm,
the question I want to pose to all three of you is linked to what you said and what Adam's demonstrated is that there's a guy called Darren King who's the guy that does the exo academian stuff, and his belief is that there are levels of consciousness, and that we should stop, considering people, good or bad. It's levels of consciousness. So they're either at a lower level or a higher level, and the higher the level, the greater the contact, etc. If we're saying off the back of what you said, Wendy, what Adam said, is that you go into yourself, you work on yourself, and effectively trying to connect within, the byproduct is this contact. But that connection, obviously, Adam's attuned to it over the years, potentially as a result of what happened with his mother, maybe other things as well. But he's naturally attuned to it. So him calling in contact, very similar to someone like Chris Bledsoe. We've also got we've got a guy. I can't name him sadly. He's an amazing individual. I think you may have met him actually, Wendy, who was calling in contact directly over Buckingham Palace a couple of years ago in broad daylight in the summer and then filming it.
yeah.
And so again, there's that. And he was doing the same thing, Adam. He was just going quiet, concentrating on connecting, and then that's that. Now, you learn TM to connect. That is this whole, at the actual nuts and bolts of this is this connection within, or this going within. And
Mm,
that appears to be a very and deeply personal journey to the individual and
yeah.
how the individual connects. And although Dr. Greer's created this wonderful CE5 protocol, which is kind of like a one size fits all button to connect, is it what would your recommendations be for any new team forming about what is the best way they can facilitate achieving what Adam's done? And that's a sort of general question potentially for all three of you.
Mm. Well, having done an awful lot of work on myself over the last, 30 years probably, I had a very busy brain. So for me, TM was the best way to switch off that busy brain. Other people are not so manic in their heads, potentially. But if you look at, there's something called the Hawkins scale of consciousness. And the lowest vibe that takes your consciousness level down is shame. And then, a little ratchet up is fear. So you can understand in today's society, a huge number of people hate who they are, they're ashamed of who they are, whether they're body more dysmorphic or whatever it might be. They're living in fear because the media wants us living in fear, and whoever owns the media. And so there's been a concerted effort to put people down to the lowest level of consciousness, which is, I don't know, it's classed as about 400 or something like that.
Keeps us under control, doesn't it?
Keeps us under control. And so when you break out of that, and you actually understand that you are not that, and you don't live in fear anymore. I mean, obviously, we all have fears every day. You can step out in front of the traffic and have a nasty shock, but it's people living in fear. And I have friends who are, which since COVID, they went into fear in COVID, and they've been in fear ever since. I find it terribly sad. But it's that lower level of consciousness, and the Hawkins grade of consciousness is quite easy to follow. So I think whatever your relaxation, meditation technique, mindfulness, whatever it might be, it's all very well sitting and doing your deep breathing, but if you're not actually looking at the thoughts in your head, which are going, I'm so fat, oh God, I really hate going to work, I'm terrified of my boss. And if that's what's occupying your thoughts, or that your vibration is going to be really low. And I can tell you this particular friend who became fearful. She became fearful as the virus, the COVID, was rolling across, and before we'd had shutdown in the UK. And I was in a car with her going down the M40. And it was like, I can't tell you what it was like. It was, they're talking Shakespeare, one of the Shakespeare plays, Henry V, I think, about the stench of fear. And I could almost smell the fear coming off. And she'd go, it's terrifying, it's going to be here soon, we're all going to get it. And I was calming her down and calming her down. But actually, I found her vibration really, really awful. And I was like over the other side of the car because I did not want to be near this vibration. My poor friend, she still is terrified, but nothing I can say will make a difference. You can only do this for yourself. And so a meditation technique is the key, I think, to being able to stand back and look at your thoughts, because your brain is like it's like a 2-year-old, a demanding 2-year-old. It wants attention all the time, your thinking ego. And if you've got a 2.5-year-old that's very demanding and you need a little bit of space, you give them some building blocks or something to play with in the corner, and they will for a while just sit and play with the building blocks. Well, a mantra is basically some building blocks for the little demanding creature, and then you can stand back and you're watching what you thought was you, but it's not you, because you're here looking at a bit of you playing with the building blocks. And it's then that you start to realize that that ego over there isn't me. It's just a piece of programming. And then you can start to raise your vibe, because you realize you've got choices. You've got choices not to be fearful, choices not to be shamed, choices to be kind instead of bad tempered, choices to do something constructive for someone. You've got choices, and a lot of people feel they haven't got any choices. They're just who they are. And you say to them, try not to lose your temper. I can't help it. I'm going to lose my. But of course they can help it if they just step back from their programming a bit more. So all there are many different techniques out there. I happen to find that one particularly powerful and life-changing, actually. Really saved my life, because I was lying in bed every night with this whirring at 10 million miles an hour, still absorbing tons, going down tons of rabbit holes and all the rest of it, and doing all the things I want to do, but I just couldn't switch it off. And switching it off was fantastic, and the experiences were fantastic. Yeah, and still are sometimes. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Adam, if I can ask you, did you was outside of the experiences in your life? So it doesn't sound
Yeah.
like unlike when you haven't had any training to achieve that connection. It's happened as a result potentially of the experiences in your life. Would you say that's true?
Yes, it's all been natural. Yeah. I haven't actually started meditating until this year. There's one thing I have heavily done, and that's listen to the heart and not the head,
Yeah.
because the head gets ruled by emotion, which can then make it erratic. The heart is what I call your gut, and it doesn't go, it can't give you wrong information. And it stabilizes everything. You feel people's energy. I don't know. I just feel like I've got a protector, that I receive information and I know purity and I know when it's not. And it's just a massive guide constantly. I can go into a whole room and feel the energy of the whole people in there. And is this for me? Is it not? And I don't know. It's hard to explain because it's just something that's natural.
I agree, Adam. I think it is natural, and someone like, I know, the poet William Wordsworth, right? He, the one who wrote about the golden daffodils and all the rest of it, and William Blake and many of these, they naturally go into that state naturally. It's a natural thing for a human being to do, and we live in a society where we're not natural.
Yeah, I've always felt different,
Mm.
even before I woke up. Yeah, it's quite hard, but at the same time, diamonds are formed under pressure, seeds grow in the dark. Um, Now the purpose has always been, what am I here to do?
Mhm.
And we've gone on to a massive venture for growing food, healthy food, to get away from poison, because we're talking about vibrational energies, and you can't be thinking straight if you're constantly receiving poison. It's in the air, it's in the water, it's in the food, it's in the cosmetics, it's in the clothing, it's absolutely everywhere. So to be more sustainable, look after the planet. This is where things have started changing this year for me, and I feel that I've had more contact because they're going, there you go, you're starting to do what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And we need to look at how we're living, because it's not sustainable. We're coming to an end if we continue on this path.
Mm. Mm. Yes, exactly. I mean, that is the sad thing, is that, you know, we will go extinct if we don't sort it out.
And
Yeah.
that's what my meditation was today. Go the big bang, so to speak. But then I progressed and asked for questions, and that was the answer that I was received was, we need to change. We're here. We are the saviors. We're the saviors of Mother Earth. We are here to protect it, not destroy it.
Yeah.
Stop looking for somebody to come save us. It's not going to be Jesus. It's not going to be God. It's not going to be Source. It's not going to be UFOs. It is us. If we all wake up and look after the planet and ourselves, we will naturally grow vibrationally, and then we may have more contact with UFOs then, because we're going to be like-minded. So we just need to keep growing. That, like the plants, keep growing, and that's all I've got really. It's an exciting time. It really is. Yeah, it's a little bit nervous because I know I've spoken to James, but to know that many people are going to be listening to this, and it's the first time I'm sort of opening up like a flower. It's very nervous. And
But at
whether
the
it's going
end of the day, it doesn't matter what people think, does it? You
I
know,
know,
as long
I know,
as you know inside of you what's
I know.
right. The people that are meant to be, or that you're meant to be in contact with, will be drawn with to you anyway, and they will, you know, feel what you're feeling, and they will agree with you, and you'll just attract the right people.
Well,
So
we have the group
Yeah.
so far, so
Well, and
we have.
you know, you're not alone in what you're thinking and saying. I just watched a wonderful interview with Dr. Zach Bush yesterday on the Next Level Soul podcast, and he's saying exactly what you're saying, Adam. And he's a scientist, many degrees, and all the rest of it. And he's saying, you know, we are going to go extinct unless we do something, and this is what we need to do. And it sounds like a depressing thing, but it actually was quite uplifting in terms of how we could go forward. Yeah.
yeah, we're getting answers now, and that's. I think there was despair when I first discovered, because this isn't new what I've sort of received. I've received it's sort of information, and you feel helpless, and that's where you lose yourself. And I know they talk about it when you awaken, and then you can then build. And the answers have come. I ask, and the answers come, and that's what I've received before. But today on that meditation, it was like, yes, you're on the right path. You keep on asking. We're telling you, come on, have a bit of confidence and go with it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. Yeah, none of this, you know, what I find sad is, you know, say being an oldie is that you could see where all this was going 50 years ago. You know, I was there at Green and Common, you know, protesting about the nuclear weapons and trying to save the whale and all these things, because we could just see the whole world going to hell in a handcart. And no matter what we did, you know, it has. But it doesn't mean to say we can't repair it, and we could repair it very fast, I think, very fast.
So, and with the solar flares, the thought that I had when you said about it is it's a magnetic torus flow, which is what we have as well. And if you are in tune with nature and you vibrate higher, I believe it's not going to cause ruptions. It's only going to enhance. That's my theory anyway. It's something that came into my head when you was talking about it.
The last major solar flare, the really big one, was in 1852, and that didn't hurt any biological life. but it did take out the telegraph, all the electricity they had at the time, the telegraph system. They didn't have much else. So they had to
Yeah.
rebuild the telegraph system. So this time, of course, we're at risk because of our energy grid. But biologically, I don't think I think it is the opposite. It is upgrading us as biological beings, but
Yeah.
it's going to knock out a lot of the technology that
As
we
obviously, Wendy and I have
To
been having this conversation for the past week or so, and it links into what the experience that you had today, Adam. We've been, whether you frame it within the Hopi prophecy or whether you frame it as Wendy and I discussed, the Samvatica fire,
yeah,
the Buddhist depiction of what is going to happen. It all represents the earth being uh, an end of one cycle through flame and the beginning of something else.
yeah,
So your vision today was very much along the lines of a potential for a nuclear weapon explosion,
yeah. That
and that
was
vision
my
vividly
prophecy.
came to you.
Yeah,
So
that's what
again,
it felt like.
it's fulfilling that somatic fire, Hopi prophecy, but in a slightly different manner. But again, I don't know if there's ever been any evidence to suggest that could a nuclear weapon effectively trigger a pulse shift at all? Would that through the EMP pulse, or is that presumably not?
We exploded so many devices in tests in the 1950s that a lot of people are saying, "What do you think climate change is?" Because they were exploded in the atmosphere, massive amounts of energy. In terms of the pole shift, that I believe the sun will just trigger that with one of the storms that we have. We're very close to it now. We're very close to having a pole shift. Um, and so there will be some chaos, I think. But I take heart when we talk about, the world ending in nuclear war. I take heart in the fact that UFOs have closed down missile systems.
Yes.
They've wherever there's been a nuclear disaster like Chernobyl, Fukushima, they've been spotted coming in, cleaning up. The Maharishi once said when they were witnessing a UFO just hovering above the sea, and everybody was asking him what was it doing, and he sat and looked at it for a while, and he said that it's cleaning the ocean, and just walked away. So I think whilst we think then, they're not going to save us. Obviously, we've got to decide to save ourselves. They won't
Yeah.
let us destroy the planet.
No. And the soul's an energy which can't be destroyed. So when
Mm.
life is ready, we'll come back in one form or another. And if we can grow more now, then it's not much of a challenge if we have to come back.
Mm. Yeah. There's a marvelous book by Professor Robert Temple. He's quite well known. It's called The New Science of Heaven. And it's basically explaining a scientific discovery which got no press, which is around the Earth, there are two great big structured plasma clouds. And structured plasma is what they've been building supercomputers out of. And these plasma clouds are each, I think, 8 times bigger than the Earth. And they just hang around. So what are they doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Is that you don't think that's potentially linked, Wendy, to the idea, the concept that's come back in the past few weeks we've been discussing about the Earth as a
Yeah.
prison planet?
About the reincarnation and the recycling of souls. It could possibly be. I mean, we've got no idea, no way of knowing, really, have we? But that, the whole purpose of, say, yoga is freedom, and it's freedom from this matrix. Plato talked about us watching the shadows on the wall when actually reality is outside the cave. There's always been this view that we're stuck in a reality that is not real, and we just keep being chained into that reality. So it's an ancient belief system, and the Gnostics, particularly, the Gnostics, the Templars, the Cathars, the Huguenots, the Bogomils, they all believed the same thing, which is this is an artificial matrix
Mhm.
set up by the demiurge whatever that might be. But yeah, in order to run this by the science that we've got, it's a simulation. What would you need? A great big, massive computer, which if you've got structured plasma cloud computers sitting outside the Earth, then maybe that's what it is. I honestly don't know.
There's been quite a lot recently on the internet and things about science now having evidence to that effect about us living in a matrix. And
Yeah, it's
um,
mathematically the most likely thing. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Yeah. And sometimes, and Adam, you might get more of this, but and maybe anybody who's tuned in to different wavelengths and therefore can detect paranormal or whatever, don't ignore the glitches in the matrix because they do happen. And I've seen a couple of glitches in the matrix where I'm thinking, oh, that was a glitch. I'm an IT person. I know what a glitch is, and you can see it. You know, it's a bit like
How did that manifest, Wendy? What did you see? How did you see it?
um I because I do still look at the sky a great deal. There was one night, and I couldn't see the moon, and it had been it normally is, my house is east west, and I normally get a good view of the moon, and it was I don't know, some special phase or something I was going to look at. Anyway, I couldn't find the moon. So I checked the rising time and it should have risen. It was a clear sky. So in the end, I think, well, I've got to go out and look for it. So I went out, and I live by a river and some meadows here. And I went out and found the moon having just risen due south.
Mm. Was
Right.
that late last year?
No, that was a couple of years ago. I'd say that was about 3 years ago. And I spoke to an astronomer friend and said, what the hell's going on? And it was like either the Earth had tilted or something had gone wrong because the moon shouldn't have been there,
Mm.
due south. Hmm.
That's
It's
incredible.
the dreams as well, where you dream and then they happen months later, and it's
Hmm.
either a warning or a message, or you're on the right path. And then I discovered that you could lucid dream. And I was like, oh, okay. So you just tell yourself when you're asleep that you just say, oh, I'm only dreaming. If I don't like this dream, you can take control.
Hmm.
So that's exactly what I started doing. I was like, I can't do it every time, obviously, but there's certain dreams that I don't like. And I'm like, oh, I need to get out of this. I just tell myself, it's only a dream, Adam. And then I just take control of it. And then I'd manipulate it to how I want it to be.
Yeah.
And then I was speaking to the Shropshire group, and they said, "No, you can't just do that, Adam. Like you've got to have had training for that." And the one chap said it's obviously from a previous life that you're just picking up from where you last left off. That this isn't normal just to be, oh yeah, you can do that, and then just go to bed and then just start doing it. I don't understand, because to me, I've not really been able to speak to anyone about it.
Hmm. It may
Have
well
you?
be that in a past life you did achieve, a high level of a high level of acuity. And so, that's what you brought with you, just waking up now. Yeah.
Possibly.
yeah. Well, we said you were going through a quickening, didn't we? With everything seems to have manifested so quickly. It's kind of snowballing with
Yeah.
your abilities and your perception and everything. It's just really
Heightened.
blossomed, like you say.
Mm. And since I've started meditating as well,
Hmm. Yeah.
I think that's got to have helped, because I've just never done it. I've never felt the need to. I've never felt my head's bombarded. Even when I was going down the rabbit hole, yes, I felt down and a bit helpless, but messages were still coming. And I've never thought, yeah, I don't need to meditate. But meeting the CE5 group, I thought all these guys are going to be years and years meditators. I need to up my game here. I need to look like I'm being serious as well. And yeah, and the second meditation, I got these bright white lights in it. The deeper relaxed I got, it just started covering my eyes. And I was
Hmm.
like, what is this?
It's a
Um,
physiological impact because you've taken you've taken your conscious brain offline in order to meditate, and that
Yeah.
allows your subconscious brain to start doing its job, which is to basically sort out your body. So when I first learned to meditate, I'd been working in the City of London, always carrying a heavy briefcase, a heavy laptop, charging in and out of trains and all the rest of it, commuting for hours, all that kind of thing. My neck and shoulders were like steel cords. They were so painful. And over 3 weeks after I learned to meditate, I kept getting all this sensation in my neck, and it just my brain, once it was given half a chance, started acting on all the problems I'd got and all the things I got. And yes, you do get, I mean, I got the purple haze once. Now I know what Jimi Hendrix was talking about. It was lovely.
I've seen the Phoenix, Burning Phoenix, and I thought that was for myself, for maybe rebirth. But with what James just said as well, I'm thinking, is that connected to Earth as well? With with what I've received today.
Can I ask you all a question at the moment? And I know I don't expect to sort of to have the answer, but to answer intuitively if you can. Um, so there's a consistent idea that 2027, and this is the year that's being touted by everybody. There's something is going to happen. That either we're going to have a significant global contact event, or a manufactured contact event. But things seem to be building up. What do you feel? And certainly in light of your comments and your comments as well, Wendy and Adam, that obviously we've got work to do on ourselves,
Yeah.
and we need to go within. Where does that 2027 piece sit in reference to that? We need to work on ourselves. And do you feel that something is that we are building up to something major happening?
Yeah, I feel that there's a big something horrible is going to happen, and potentially UFOs. I think they're are external protectors, and they come here when there's threat of nuke attacks. They come, they disarm. They're here to try and protect when we can't manage it. So if there's a big talk of 2027 of a mass fleet of UFOs, then to me it feels something really bad is about to happen, and that they have got to take over to sort it out until the ship's steady.
That's exactly what I think Bashar is saying at the moment. The guy that Bashar, I don't know if you've seen him before. He's the guy that
Yeah.
specializes the channeler, and he's been consistently right on a number of occasions. I'm not sure to what degree he's considered a bit divisive, but that's what you just said is exactly what
Yeah.
he's saying at the moment as well.
And he was saying as well, wasn't he, just recently, that open contact was going to happen in 2027, but because of humanity's reaction to some comments that he made in one of his channelings, um, they've now pushed it back to end of 28, 29, because they feel we're not quite ready to accept open contact. And then there's all the fears as well about the false flag, you know, man-made spaceships as well, supposedly threatening humanity. In actual fact, it's not actually non-human intelligences. It's our own fleets trying to make us afraid of extraterrestrials.
That's part of their agenda, though, to keep control, isn't it? So it's all
Absolutely.
about confusion. So I think you just have to brush that away and say, no, you've got to go for it here.
People believe what they see, and that the fear mongering machines are so widespread, and a lot of people absorb it and believe it.
Yeah.
So it's trying to get people to take that step back and say, well, actually, could it be that it's not as it seems, and getting people to question it, whether they do or not, um, is up to them. But hopefully we'll all wake up to what's really going on.
I think the word waking up is the most important part, and then you stabilize yourself.
Hmm.
Then you know.
I think 2024 was everybody knowing something was wrong but ignoring it completely. 2025 is people finally going, something really wrong here. We're starting to get the truth out about so many things, and the truth is horrible, and it will be horrible. 2026 will be the demand. People will be demanding a different way of being. And 2027 is when we start seeing what a different way of being could be, and we start working towards it. So at that point, we might well have some contact, but I'm not expecting uh, I'm not expecting a mass contact thing until after that, really. But I think what there will be, and it's something Stephen and others have talked about, which is that there will be exchange programs. And so those, I mean, I hate saying, the people who woken up, or the people who've become, but the people who've become self-realized to a large extent are still going to be in the minority. The mass population of Britain and the world is going to be still half asleep, at least, starting to realize it's not what they thought it was, but they're still not going to have got to the levels that they needed to get to. But I think there will be kind of exchange programs where people who have got to a good level will be able to have much more contact, but the mass of the population won't, until they've raised their awareness more. Because I still find it, even if we have a great big solar flash and all the other things, I'm still not convinced that the majority of people are going to know what on earth's going on, and seeing human behaviour as it is at the moment. I don't have a lot of optimism, but I do have optimism for the people who are now aware and conscious, and seeing reality much more as it is. But yeah, the next 5 years, it's 5 years, I think in 5 years the world will be very different.
That's really
Just keep
encouraging.
sowing the seeds
Mm.
and hoping they grow.
That's brilliant. So I just want to ask you guys now, in terms of the sort of the nuts and bolts aspect of putting the team together and everything else. It sounds like it's happened naturally, which is pretty much what it sounds like it happens for a lot of teams. It's kind of almost like it's supposed to be, and this is all potentially what we're dealing with is something that may well be a predestined thing to come together with this group of people. Is that what you've seen before, Wendy, in your experience? Do you think it is like that, or is that me putting too much of a sort of rose-tinted spectacles on it?
Well, I think I think the just coming together of people naturally. It's quite interesting how people gravitate towards one another. Um, I happen to volunteer at a place down the road that is highly paranormally active. And so when we have open days, we get all sorts of really interesting people come along. And often people will say, "Oh, do you get UFO back?" We've actually had a crop circle, but and we have had UFO sightings. But they naturally gravitate to somewhere where they feel able to be able to talk openly. I do talks, and people come up to me afterwards and ask me questions and things, but generally, general conversation, it still isn't something people feel happy to have a conversation about. And whilst that's the situation, all we can do is form these nice little networks and start drawing in more people where we can. And the CE5s that done in Warwickshire with my colleague Dave. it is a small group, it's maybe 10 people, 12 people who are in the know. And we don't advertise them because we don't want strangers turning up and causing difficulties. And
Mm.
it's also quite challenging living in the Midlands. It's quite challenging to find a dark sky, to be honest. And I used to live in Surrey, and there wasn't a dark sky at all. Surrey in London is just like really difficult. So, yeah, I mean, probably a dozen people, and and so we just keep a list of those folks and say, well, we're going to go out and do this on such and such a farm. Do you want to join us? But trying to do public speaking, which I've done, I was in one of Dr. Greer's films. I do my best to support people, but at the moment it feels like it's a waste of energy to go out and start trying to recruit and
Mm.
recruit disciples, if you see what I mean. You know what I mean, don't you? But
Mm.
it's just they are just people are so stressed, so busy, so programmed by the world around them that they simply have no brain space for it at all.
Mm.
I
Absolutely.
am a thought of despair of how can I get people to wake up? And I was trying, and it was working negatively. And then a thought came into my head. Don't know if you know Mr. Miyagi.
Oh
Come
yeah,
across,
yeah.
and the thought what came in said, "It's not what he says; it's what he does." So stop trying to talk people to awakening. Just do, and the people who want to awaken will naturally pull in. So I think that goes to the same with this group. We just keep doing
Yeah.
and keep achieving, and it will start influxing more and more people.
I think you're right. I think the what Wendy said earlier on about when she was in the States and there was a number of people that had come there just to see a UFO and they didn't see anything.
Yeah,
That's been a common theme throughout many of the CE5 teams in the UK.
Yeah.
So you'll get a bunch of people go out, but not everybody will all see the same thing, which is a kind of a reflection on the fact that there are differing levels of consciousness.
Yeah.
And so what I would assume that Adam would see would probably dwarf someone that's just come into it, or just found out about it, hasn't had any experiences in the same way you have going back a few years. And this has all obviously been confirmed by what Wendy's experienced. So it's if the whole team can see something, that means you've really achieved something amazing in
Mm.
yeah,
that session because everyone's managed to get to the level through the meditation and they've managed to shut down the monkey mind and just relax. And the relaxation is, I think, the key to it all. But that is an amazing achievement. If not everyone does, and a couple of people do, that's a wonderful thing. I've had a
Mm.
couple of times where I've been out with teams, and then someone on the team has sort of confided halfway through the evening, "Oh, I'm scared."
Yeah. Yeah.
You've been a
Yeah.
no-show all night. You
And
don't get anything at all.
yeah. And so if you go on one of Dr. Greer's expeditions in the desert, they build up. And so by the end of the week, as a group, and there'll be 35 or 40 people, but you're all in the same coherent mindset. You're all there. And so much more gets seen as the days go by, simply because people are tuning into one another and setting that consciousness level to be able to see things. And so absolutely right. I do think the Eastbourne sighting was very good though,
Yeah.
James.
It was. I mean, look, I can't very well. Much as my ego would love it to take credit for that, we can't. I don't think we. I mean, we were on the beach as a team. It was the Eastbourne team who were lovely. Ingrid and Stephen run them, and they've been brilliant. They are consistently having experiences, and it's a wonderful set. They're always out on the beach. Either twice, once a month or once every 2 months, and they're regularly having contacts. Ingrid had been telling me on the run up to that event that there was going to be something was going to happen, and when we got down there, before we sat down, you could feel it in the air. Now, this was also, and to be put the cards on the table about this, because I'm not trying to take credit. Obviously, there was the Galactic Spiritual Informers Conference, and Alina Danan, who's can be some to a degree a little bit of a divisive figure, because a lot of people are very skeptical about her, very skeptical about the Galactic Spiritual Informers Conference. The ticket cost is expensive. It is high, so it does produce a bit of cynicism about that. But that being said, look, she had set an intention weeks ago. She'd been telling people for weeks or months they were going to see something on the beach. And that consistently programming the audience over a long period of time, I think that set the intention a long time prior.
Mm.
And so by the time they got there, it was absolutely ready to happen. And you could feel the energy in the air. I've never felt that way before. And when they turned up, there was hundreds and hundreds of people on the promenade. Everyone was clapping and cheering. It was just a quite wonderful experience. It was sort of it was lovely to have that experience. I had a similar thing a few years ago when we went down to Wiltshire, and there was a big, about 100 people down there for a conference, and we saw something then. But again, there was a lot of very experienced people in that audience who said, "I'm not sure what we actually saw was real." So there was it was a real divide. But that was absolutely everybody who saw that believed what they saw. But what was interesting was the pushback from the local community, which sums up what you just said, Wendy, because what you were saying was that, even if whatever happens, Joe Public doesn't really care about this, and
Mm.
it probably isn't going to wake up. And that was reflected by the local community on that night, because they didn't want strangers in their
Mm.
community, especially not strangers who with a belief system that don't be silly. UFOs, there's no such thing as UFOs. What are you doing here? You're all freaks. Go away. And that was the pushback from the local community. We all saw it that night. And members of the public from the coming up and laughing at us and the group. And that's, it just summed up exactly what you were saying. So I think we've got a long way to go. But if we're capable of something like that in Eastbourne, I mean, I thought for a while, I mean, just imagine if you had 60,000 people in Wembley Stadium meditating and asking for something. I mean, we're a way off that happening yet, but it's something to aspire to, maybe.
Do we not
Uh,
think it's more of the intentions of what we want is why they come and not just saying, please
Well, it's,
turn up?
it's what you said. It's you've connected within. For
Yeah,
people that have really found that spark, as the Gnostic, sorry, yes, the Gnostic texts say, you've got to find that spark within. But that is a totally personal. If you can do that, and you can really do that, then things are happening like you're experiencing, Adam.
yeah.
Your connections like that, and you can call them in. I love watching the videos of Chris Bledsoe.
Yeah.
I mean, Chris Bledsoe is now regularly getting pulled, he's going into the Vatican, talking to them about it.
Mm.
Some of those conversations that he's going public with now are astounding, where the Vatican are coming forward saying, well, we need to tell you that a lot of people who've been exposed to what we would call angels have died through, potentially radiation poisoning. So suggesting that human beings can't take the energy given off by some of these extremely, whether the church are calling them divine or not. But it is all established, so that he can call in that contact. You could potentially, you're calling in that contact. They've
Yeah.
got a couple of other people that can do that in the UK.
Mm.
But
He's actually
how you
yeah,
actually do that's the thing that if you can find a way of teaching that. I mean, as Wendy said, Wendy got the connection. She went through the training for TM, and you were saying, did it really click for you then? The contact work then, Wendy?
Yeah, because I started as soon as I learned to meditate, I started having all kinds of experiences, physical ones, psychic ones, and what I'd call kind of angelic ones. All sorts of things were going on. It was like the floodgates opened, and so I was seeing a lot of things in a lot of places, but not telling people, I was just noticing and things. But so for me, the CE5 contact was just a natural extension of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chris actually said about things haven't changed by Easter 2026. Is it going to be 3 planets align over the pyramids? And that's the warning.
That there has been someone talking about that astrological alignment. Yeah, I mean the astrology is very clear, though. I mean we are in times of really great change, and the rest of this year I think is going to be quite a roller coaster ride. But at the end of the day, the thing that you can do, Adam, which is to actually use your heart Taurus in the way that you do to bring in things. That many people's hearts have been completely shut down, and the fear factor comes in as soon as they see anything. I mean, I'm like, yeah, I'm just curious. Oh, I've just seen something. I wonder what that is. I'm not scared of it, but there has been a deliberate campaign, I think, to keep humanity in where it is. And breaking out of it is a revolution, and that revolutionary energy is exciting and difficult and everything else. Yeah.
I've been asking for the direct contact, and then I've been seeing like movement of shadows in the corner of my eye, like
Corner of your
then
eye, yeah.
and I'm like, oh, come on, don't be scared. I'm not scared.
Yeah, I get that a lot too. But your
It's
peripheral vision is actually stronger than your forward vision anyway, and you can pick up different energies a lot easier.
Yeah.
mm,
We get that a lot when we're sort of investigating and things like that. So, and like what you were saying, Wendy, about not everybody being able to see things, that's really common when you're doing the paranormal investigations as well, because of different people's different vibrational levels, what they're able to access and
Yeah. Yeah,
stuff.
absolutely. And the thing that I say to people, because I'm an energy healer as well. It's been one of the things I've done for a long time. And people say, well, can you see auras? And I go, well, yes, if I want to, but it is a particular way of looking. So if you're focusing directly on something, then the way that your eye works is it's tracking the light from that thing onto your retina. If you gaze, it's the same thing as the corner of the eye thing. It's light coming in from different places and it's being scattered across your retina. And if you can gaze gently, then you see people's auras. It's that easy.
Yeah,
And I learned
it's a
that from
soft gaze, isn't it? It's
soft
sort of looking
gaze.
through. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's how you see, if you want to look at the Pleiades star cluster in the sky, you can find it because it's there, but it'll be a little bit fuzzy. If you simply gaze just to the side of the Pleiades, then it comes into full focus, but not directly from the peripheral vision. So your peripheral vision is really important because you do see an awful lot more with it. And the more you tell your brain you're interested in that, the more your brain will show you stuff.
yeah.
Well, listen, I have kept you all now for a good hour. This has been a wonderful conversation, and it's quite inspiring seeing, that firstly that we're lucky enough to be able to call on Wendy to give her expert opinion on this, but also it's very exciting seeing people like Michelle, you and Adam who are coming forward at this time and are actually much further down the line with all of this, the understanding and being able to organize and everything else than many other people are. But it's a hugely inspirational time. So thank you all very, very much for your time this evening.
Thank you for the
Thank
opportunity.
you. And thank you, Wendy, as well. It's been lovely to meet you.
I'm delighted. I'm always happy to talk about stuff, and after I was in the Dr. Greer film, people did find me because I was the only Brit, and so I did talk to a lot of people on the phone about their experiences and things, and supporting them, if you like, and turning them from fear into understanding much more. But it is just, in my experience, trying to recruit and get people to see what I see, it's just been it's really difficult. So you just have to find your tribe. You'll find each other, and then as the tribe gets bigger, then you start attracting more people in because they start to somehow feel the gravitas of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to meeting other people like-minded and sharing experiences and just building that rapport, because the core group is very tightly knit. Right from day one, we just all clicked. So it'll be nice to sort of start drawing people in, and just expand upon that.
Lovely. Well, thank you, James, for organising us.
Yeah, no, thank you very much, guys.
Thank you,
It's
James.
a pleasure to talk to you, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
And now, for the first time in our history, CE5 UK is now going to broadcast what will hopefully become a regular monthly CE5 meditation to coincide with Dr. Greer's monthly event. And for the first time, we're delighted to get Paul Stebles, who's a member of the CE5 South East London team, has provided this global peace and CE5 meditation.
Welcome to this guided meditation centered around peace, harmony, gratitude, and our connection with our extraterrestrial cousins. Just allow yourself to get into a nice, comfortable position, allowing those muscles to slowly release. Letting go of all of that tension, feeling it simply ebb away. And now I'd like you to take a breath, drawing in the air for 4 seconds, and then holding it for another 4 seconds, and then breathing out over 6 seconds, allowing the body to relax even more. And take another deep breath in for 4 seconds. Hold for 4 seconds. And then release over 6. Allow the body to relax, the mind to enter a peaceful state of relaxation. Feeling the limbs of the body, one after another, gently fall asleep, losing their sensation, allowing the body to completely rest. And as your body completely rests, your mind can follow suit. Focusing on how relaxing it is to sit here and simply be without feeling the rest of your body. Not a care in the world as you enter a beautiful, deep, relaxing state of trance. And every time your mind begins to wander, bring it back to a feeling of gratitude. I'd like for you to visualize something that you feel truly grateful for in your life. It might be a friend, a loved one, a pet, animal, tree, anything that you feel truly grateful for having in your life. And focus on that feeling of joy and wonder, and the thanks and gratitude felt deep within our heart. And as our heart begins to expand, we notice as such our energy field expands with it, full of love and gratitude for the beautiful friends, family, partners and loved ones, or simply just being part of nature. And as you sit there, even more relaxed, even more grateful for the beautiful things in your life, you can simply let all the worry drift away, blowing on the wind. And as we focus deeply into that of our hearts, we expand and unite them with all the other hearts around the world, combining our powerful light into a single voice of focus. All of the strength from your body, your mind, and your soul, focused on your heart center, allowing the body to grow and energize. And as this body of energy, this powerful heart, begins to blossom, something truly magical happens, almost like a complete metamorphosis. And you'll notice this connection even deeper with those around you. The connection, a beautiful reminder of of that connection to Source, to Mother Earth, Gaia and nature, always within our heart, helping humanity on its way. And we can be thankful to the beautiful world we all share with one another. One full of power and wonder. The true extent of the reach of mankind go far beyond the borders of this world and out into the stars. And as we reach out into the world beyond, we turn and look at the planet and world we come from, with all our brothers and sisters uniting in peace. A message of oneness spread throughout the world, with all the injustice left behind. And our energy unites with those around us and those in spirit to perform a dazzling show of true wonder, witnessing the powerful fire within our heart beam out into the cosmos to our nearby galactic neighbours, spreading the message of a peaceful world, one full of gratitude and love, seeking first contact with our cousins amongst the stars. And as our energy reaches out beyond our sphere, we feel it expand even more, touching the hearts of all humanity. And with that one-minded focus of all of the world combined into one, we send out a beautiful message into the stars to allow the light to spread from our hearts and unite with our cousins from another world, welcoming them down to the ground so that we might meet and enjoy their company as true ambassadors of Earth. Remembering the beautiful prism of light, that pyramid of protection, shines above us, constantly playing, projecting its field of light around the whole of the group. And collectively, our group takes our mind and begins to channel the sounds of our extraterrestrial cousins. And they need us to guide them down to the ground with our consciousness. Pick a location right near your group for our brothers and sisters of another world to come and pay us a visit. And in the silence, we can begin to make out sounds and sights of all the wonderful things in this world that we can be grateful for. And as our group's combined gratitude rings out true, we ask for our extraterrestrial brothers to reveal themselves to us so that we may converse and commune further. And collectively as a group, we open our minds to other beings with the same intention as our own, that of the spread of love and light, and to help guide our extraterrestrial brothers and sisters. We'll create a map in our mind leading to our solar system, making it easier and easier to find where our existence lies, so that they can pay a visit, close and in person. And as we sit in this space of silence, we allow our minds to expand out into the void, growing our consciousness, filling the space with our gratitude towards our extraterrestrial cousins. And as we fill and expand the space with this overwhelming feeling of gratitude, this acts as a beacon to help further guide our friends from the stars down to our location. All of our hearts in harmony together, feeling that joyful, beautiful state of gratitude, allowing this beacon to radiate out through our expanded consciousness. And this beacon spreads throughout the earth, throughout the world, tapping into the field of Gaia itself. Amplifying the signal from our hearts. Gratitude of the connection to our joint oneness. Singing a song through the fields of energy, unseen to our eye, connect us all. With gratitude and thanks. We feel the response from our extraterrestrial cousins as they open their hearts and we join and become one. And as we do so, this spreads a message of peace and love, one of harmony and oneness, that radiates throughout all of the earth. As humans, and their star cousins see the oneness in everything, allowing them to feel what others feel, allowing the humility and compassion to shine through. Filling the space with joy and wonder, connecting our souls together at a deep, deep level. And with this connection established, it makes it effortless for our star family to come and join us if it's safe for them to do so. So that we may joyfully revel in each other's company. In the spirit of oneness. And as we hear our combined song, we allow our minds to return back to our body, keeping that feeling of gratitude for the connection we share, as we slowly feel the blood returning to all of our limbs, all of our senses return once more back into the body. When you're ready, take a deep breath. Allow the air to fill you with energy. And gently open your eyes to witness the connection with our star and soul.